Lauren, welcome in Geneva. There are few people on earth that don't know you, but if you meet one of them, how would you describe yourself if he asks or if she asks, what are you doing?
Sure, hardly, but thank you. My name is, Lauren Bush Lauren, and I'm based in New York. I founded a company, a social business called Feed, and the Feed Foundation 15 years ago. And our mission is really to address the issue of childhood hunger. And we do that by being a brand. So we actually create products that help feed the world. So every product we make and sell, we build in a donation to help feed children in school around the globe through giving partners like the United Nations World Food Program, and really as a way to engage people in this extremely massive and overwhelming issue of hunger, and specifically childhood hunger.
The topic of this conference here is like leading with purpose. Mm-hmm. Do you think entrepreneurship without a purpose does exist or should exist?
I don't think it can exist. Maybe for a minute, but I feel like without purpose and even a level of commitment to be a global citizen and engage, be thoughtful about what you're doing and the impact that's having. I don't think you will exist long as an entrepreneur, as a business, without that level of purpose and commitment.
What you do is remarkable, but how do you explain that so many bags are sold without helping children? I mean, you are an exception rather than the rule.
Mm-hmm. We are, and I would say many companies who sell products might have other, give backs or missions, and but I do look at so many brands and companies that don't have that intrinsic purpose or meaning, and I think that will be a thing of the past in years to come. I know consumers are really holding companies and brands to higher standards nowadays, and without that level of commitment and purpose and transparency and engagement, I think brands and companies are going to lose without it.
Yeah. With the war in Ukraine and the coming wheat crisis that everybody is forecasting, the World Food Program with whom you work is going to be under huge pressure. There will be hunger more in Africa and everything. Are you thinking of doing more what you do, or how do you analyze the needs?
Oh my goodness. I mean, the need is vast, and hunger prior to COVID in the past few years, and certainly the situation in the Ukraine, was actually on the decline. It was a hopeful story that less people every year were hungry. More people were moving into being food secure and more sustainable livelihoods. And truly in the last 2 years, we've seen that fall off a cliff. So many countries are on the brink of even famine, or are experiencing famine. And that is due to conflict, to climate change, just to the general disparity that exists in the world. So, more than ever, I do feel personally, a passion and a need to do what we can to help feed as many people, specifically children, as we can. Really, to me, the disparity in food and access to healthy and nutritious food is also the disparity of just opportunity. So many children born into poverty and born into hunger, are not able to live up to their God-given potential and live full, healthy, meaningful lives that contribute back to their families, their communities, their countries. And hungry people are desperate people. And I think it's just extremely destabilizing when people can't access something as essential as food.
Yeah. But now with the wheat that is going to be lacking, it could be catastrophic. So do you think the global community, the entrepreneurs, the business community should really change something in its way to consider the
I do. I mean, I think in my 15 plus years of being involved in the hunger space, often hunger is thought of as this thing that just, it's inevitable, it has to exist. And it doesn't. We know what it takes to feed people and what people need. And it really will take people from all sectors, from business to nonprofit to government, to make that a priority. Because again, hungry people and hungry countries are not stable people and not stable countries. So to even look at it in that way in terms of just global, unity and prosperity is extremely important.
This is a investors forum, so people here are looking for opportunities. Mm-hmm. They want to invest with purpose. So, what would you tell them? They have money, they want to invest. Mm-hmm. What to do to alleviate the fact? For example, Africa will suffer hugely from the wheat crisis.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity there. I'm not a smart enough economist to tell investors specifically how to help solve it, but I certainly think they can and should play a role. And I also think the people investing in their funds are going to demand results, that they are investing with a global mindset that is helping people. And if investors don't kind of adopt that mindset, that it's not just about returns for shareholders, it is about also helping make the world a better, more equitable place. I think it's crucial nowadays to investing.
It's been 15 years that you do this.
It has been.
It's a huge success. You feed a lot of children. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
I would love to say hunger will be gone and feed will close our doors. So one can dream that that's the ultimate goal, that hunger will no longer exist and there'll be no need for a company and a foundation like ours. At the same time, that might be slightly idealistic and optimistic. So I feel like, essentially the bigger our business can grow and the more people we can engage with in the fight to end hunger, the better. So truly, to me, it's meal by meal, it's day by day. In total, we've been able to donate over 125 million school meals. So we're also primarily funding school meals, which essentially is kind of dual purpose. So kids are going to school, getting a free and nutritious meal if they live in a poor food, hungry area. And with that, they're also getting an education. They're, all the ripple effects of having a healthy body, but also access to an education just has amazing effects on, these children's lives and then their community and their countries, et cetera. So that's our primary mission focus, is more kids having access to school meals and thus access to education.
I have 3 questions that I ask to each participant.
Sure.
The first one is, this forum is about purpose-driven leadership. Mm-hmm. Would you have a good example in history or present time about a good leadership, purpose-driven person?
One of my inspirations, who I've been able to meet several years back, was Mohammed Yunus. He won the Nobel Prize for microlending and set up the Grameen Bank. Just someone, again, with a simple but very scalable and brilliant idea that really has moved, tens of thousands, if not millions of people out of just dire poverty and empowered them with that loan and that credit and that access to the finance system. Things in Switzerland, we're at the epicenter of the finance system. Yes. And you forget so many, millions and millions of people around the globe don't have access to even a bank account. So to get them integrated, even with just, again, a very small amount of money so they can start that family business, makes just a world of difference. So he's someone I, again, just super admire, and again, the scalability of what he has done for the world is super impressive.
My second question is about Switzerland that you just mentioned. What role and what opportunities do you see for Geneva or for Switzerland in this purpose-driven world?
I think Geneva could, play a critical role. And as an American, I think you do think of and look at Geneva as sort of this neutral land of very, intelligent people. Obviously, banking being such a central part of what Geneva is about. And where the money is, there's power, there's influence. So to use that kind of power and influence more and more for good and for the benefit of, I would say, just the poorest of the poor, would be my hope and my wish, and I think that's just a massive opportunity. But also in climate change, like helping solve some of these big issues and being a leader in that as a kind of epicenter of such a melting pot of global community here in Geneva, I think is really exciting.
And the third and last question is, the world has gone through this 2 years of pandemic.
Yeah.
It's almost finished, but then a new crisis has surfaced, and it's going to be a global one, and the war in Ukraine and its consequences. How do you see the world after that? I mean, you know, there have been many dreams about after the pandemic the world will be more just, people will help more each other. And of course, this was a bit idealistic. But now, how do you see yourself, the world after these two crises finish, if it finishes one day?
I know. It's like on one hand, I do think the world is more, united than ever. We understand that we're not islands. We are all interconnected. We certainly, that was at the center of the COVID experience. And yet, we are more divided than ever. So I really, my, again, optimistic, idealistic side wants to believe that we'll come out of this more united and more thoughtful, more considerate. And yet that's not proving out everywhere in politics and otherwise. So I hope, I guess, that at least there can be a more civilized discourse. It feels extremely divided where both sides can't even have a conversation with the other side. And I think that's extremely dangerous and not productive. So I guess a hope for the future, I don't know if it's a prediction, is that at least we'll be able, if it's not Russia, Ukraine, it's going to be a climate change crisis. Like there's always going to be another crisis, it seems. So to really figure out a way to at least talk to each other through that and hopefully through that find compromise and find connection and find, some solutions out of this, the many global crises we are facing and will face is my hope.